PJnet.TV. Tuesday evening, it's 9 o'clock on the East Coast, and we have our guest standing by. We are recording and we are streaming, so we switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening and welcome to another night of PJnet.TV. It is good to see you here. I am your host, Coach Prasick. It is my honor to sit in this seat and bring you everyday Christians sharing their walk with Christ. And I want to wish a special thank you, or wish a special welcome, or extend a special welcome, I'll get it right in a minute, to our folks in the PJnet.TV live chat room. However, it's very possible that you are watching this on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. We stream live to all of those places. And we're glad that you have taken some of your time to join us here. And we're glad that you've done that. We hope that we will earn the privilege of having you a part of our life. We would also give you an invitation personally to go to pjnet.tv to our live chat room, where you will find people like Ben and Doug and JD and Monty and Rachel and Terry, and some others will be along a little bit later, I'm sure. And that's our PJNet family. We'd love to have you join us over there if you have a desktop, a laptop, or even a tablet. If you're using a telephone, a mobile phone, a smartphone, you probably just better stay where you're at. Okay. Well, folks, we are fortunate tonight, to have Jen Gentry join with us. Now, Jen was scheduled earlier, but she was she didn't have her internet working right. And so we've rescheduled and we've got everything ready to go now. And she's actually joining us by way of her telephone, which, let me just give you a word in advance. This thing is being propped up by duct tape and bubble gum and whatever else we could find. Jen, you're quite the engineer in addition to being a wordsmith. And we're just glad that you could join us tonight. It's great to have you. I wanted to, I think when we first talked, you were a little apprehensive because you do, when it comes to writing and publishing and all that, you do things a little different, and you were afraid that that may not fit in. And I said, well, we're here to help people share their walk with Christ. So tell us about how you do things differently than the way we've been hearing so much of.
Well, I'm not, and probably never will be, a traditionally published author. I am a self-published author, and I actually help other authors self-publish and make money at it. And I think that the erroneous belief is that you cannot make money as a self-published author, and that's just simply not true. It puts food on my table. And I think that's where I differ with people. I think that when people become authors, and new authors especially, or even authors who've been in the business for a while, they think that that you're not really properly published unless you're traditionally published. And I just do things differently. I believe differently, and I help other people get published, and I just don't deal with the drama of traditional publishing, is what I want to say.
I think I know what you're talking about, Jen. Well, let me say this in defense. I've been to 3 writers' conferences, and at all 3, traditional publishing was brought up, but it's usually brought up with a little flavor of contempt. You know what I'm saying? And
yes.
My take on it is that, of course, these conferences are generally put on by publishers, so I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But they don't outright say that if you do that, what they do caution them is that once you're self-published, you have kind of burnt your bridges with the publishers. Do you tend to agree?
Absolutely not, because there's this whole new generation of authors that are called hybrid authors.
Okay, yeah, they mentioned that. Mm-hmm.
They are self-published authors who are also traditionally published authors. And in fact, the last conference that I went to, the last writers' conference that I went to here in Oklahoma, I spoke to an agent, and they told me that they actually look for that. Do you have experience publishing Did you self-publish? How did you sell? Did you market yourself?
Exactly.
I mean, they're looking for that whole platform, like we were talking about. Do you have an online presence, and are you publishing, and are you making money at it? Are you selling, and how are you doing that? And agents are actually looking for that now. So I don't think that is true. Maybe it was true in the past, but I don't think it's true today.
Well, in any event, I can say this, and I haven't heard this, but it seems to me an observation that I've made is that there's probably a lot of good material out there that will never get traditionally published because the publishers can only take on so much.
Exactly.
And there are more people writing than there are publishers publishing. So,
absolutely.
So in terms of ministry, in terms of if you have a message, a story that God's put on your heart, I don't see any reason. I don't see any reason not to do it. However, whatever way you can get that done, it's like in the business world. Traditionally, if you have a business idea, you would go to a bank, and and if you don't have credit or whatever, and the bank turns you down for a loan to make this happen, there are other ways to obtain that money. Lease companies will charge you way more than a bank, but you know what? You'll still make money. So,
exactly.
As entrepreneurs, I think we just have to make judgment calls. If you've got your work and if you have the means, is it expensive to self-publish?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. If it were expensive to self-publish, I wouldn't be able to do it. I think where your biggest expense are, and I always tell authors that come to me, your biggest expense is going to be with your editing. It's always going to be with your editing. Okay. And I absolutely do not recommend people publish unedited books. And I don't mean self-edited. I mean you need to have an editor. And I think that's very important. And you need to have beta readers, people who are reading for you. And I have a team of beta readers for myself. And I have my own editors that I use. And I think the biggest expense is going to be with editing. But then you're going to want to buy a good cover if you're not a graphic artist, and I'm certainly not a graphic artist. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to want a good graphic artist to make you a proper book cover, and you need to have a professional book cover that's just as almost important as the editing. And so those are your two biggest expenses. But the way I got started, I bartered. I bartered with people because I didn't have $500, $600, $1,000 for editing for a short novel. I didn't have that kind of money. So I bartered. I did services. I did online work. I did a lot of typing. A lot of what is the word I'm looking for? Just where I did work for other people, mm-hmm. Whatever they needed to have done, if they needed transcription work done, if they needed me to help them build a Facebook site. I'm not really a website worker, but I did help people build their own blog sites and things like that, and taught people how to use Facebook and things and social media to market. And that's how I kind of got started on this. And so I bartered services for services. I bartered mm-hmm. Services for marketing and things like that for editing. And I got really close with some graphic artists who are also authors, and they did a lot of my book covers for me in exchange for me doing marketing for them.
Sounds like you're pretty resourceful, and it also sounds like you've done a little bit of this.
I have. I've been doing this for about 8 years now.
Okay. This is not your first rodeo.
No.
Okay.
I have 14 published novels and articles and blog sites and things like that, and 15 is in the works. So by the end of the summer, I'll have 15 out.
And very impressive. Now, in the time that we have left, you've got quite an amazing story, not only professionally, but you've come, you're tested by fire, aren't you?
Amen. Amen. I am tested by fire. Amen. So yes, I have quite a testimony.
Well, we have about 8 minutes. Can you share that with us?
Um, well, I am literally the person who was blind and can now see, literally. And for people who don't believe in miracles, real healing miracles, let me tell you, I'm that person. I was in a really bad car wreck, and the engine slammed into the dashboard. My engine slammed into the dashboard and subsequently slammed into both my knees. And so we were very concerned about my knees, and nobody was paying attention to anything else. And I ended up with slow bleeds in both eyes. And I just woke up one morning literally, and my eyes were full of blood, and I was completely blind. I could not see but maybe just a little bit of light around the edges. And so I've had upwards of 20 surgeries in both eyes. And I got to a point where I could see a little bit, but I have scarring in this eye. And so I couldn't see a whole lot. And I had to pull my laptop very close to my face so that I could see it. I mean, like right in front of me, so that I could see it to type. And I was doing that, and I was working around it. And one night, my church was in prayer service on a Saturday night, and that night I had an article that had a deadline, so I had to stay home and work that night. And so I was working on my article, and I was just typing away, and I fell asleep instantly. I mean, I was awake and working, and the next thing I know, I was asleep with my face literally on my keyboard. And about an hour and a half later, my husband woke me up and said, "You need to wake up. You need to wake up." And I opened my eyes, and I was kind of stunned that I had fallen asleep so quickly and didn't really realize it. And when I opened my eyes, I could see things that I hadn't seen in years. And where I was sitting at in my living room, I could see into the kitchen, but I couldn't really make out details. And on the cabinets, there was like scrolled woodwork on the cabinets that I couldn't see that unless I was standing very close to the cabinet. I couldn't make out the detail. And from where I was sitting, I could actually see the details and see the cabinetry and see the things from where I was sitting. And I was shocked because, I hadn't been able to see that well in about 3 years at that time. And I started rubbing my eyes, thinking, this is a fluke, something's wrong. I mean, this isn't right. And I just knew it was going to go away. I didn't trust in it. And about 3 days later, my pastor called me, and I was telling him about this, that very suddenly that I could see, and I really felt like, that God had performed a miracle. And he said, that was strange because at that time on that Saturday night, they were actually praying over my card that I had written out for what I wanted for prayer. And what I wrote down was that I wanted to be able to see well enough to drive again. Mm-hmm. And so I went to my eye doctor a few days after that, and I didn't tell my eye doctor what was going on, and he just told me, he said, "Your vision is much improved." And then he said, "And you're actually legal now to drive." I fell out of my chair because, that was absolutely divine confirmation. So I haven't really shared that a whole lot with people because to me it's still unbelievable. But I still can see as well as better than I could. As well as I did on that day that the Lord healed me. It's still so much improved. Like I can see my phone without my glasses on now. And my phone is about, I can see it very clearly, and it's about, maybe a foot away from me. So, to me, that's really, really amazing. I can watch TV. I can drive if I want. So it's really, really amazing. And I'm so blessed. And there's so many things that have happened with that, and so many blessings I received with that. And I just can't even, there's just not enough time for me to tell you all the blessings that I've received from our Lord. And I'm amazed every day.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Jen. That, we hear stories like that, and sometimes we're skeptical, but it happened to you. So, I'm
the world's worst skeptic. So I
So
don't know. I don't know what to tell people. It happened to me.
what did your pastor think?
Oh, he's absolutely amazed. And when he told me that, I mean, he was just so sincere. He said, we absolutely were praying over your card at that time, on that day. And I mean, there's just no other explanation for it. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't thinking about it. I was working, So.
Truly amazing. Let's talk about your personal life a little bit. You love hummingbirds.
Yes, I do.
You have a hummingbird
every
fetish, so to speak.
Yes, I do. I have a thing for hummingbirds. I really do. My mother loved them, and we always had hummingbird feeders out, and we would always watch for the hummingbirds. And they didn't come through New Mexico where I grew up very often, but sometimes they would. And when they came, my mom was ready, and we got to see them. And so hummingbirds are very special, and they're kind of like a special time. They remind me of my mom. And every time I've had to move or had a big change in my life, I always had a hummingbird come somehow, some way. Either a real hummingbird or a plastic hummingbird, or just some kind of symbol of a hummingbird to remind me that I'm loved, and that I'm a child of God, and that whatever I'm going through, I'm going to get through.
Well, it's so good to know that our resident biologist expert is in our chat room, Ben Cooper. And Ben, I'm going to look in the chat to see if he has pointed out that the hummingbird is the only bird on this planet that can fly backwards. They're busy little critters,
amazing?
They are amazing, and they're hard to see, Jen. They're really hard to see them now, aren't they?
They are.
And to have that that restored must be special. Now, the thing that I liked most about your press kit, 70s Mopar muscle cars are a passion of yours.
Well, you have to understand that we are a Mopar family. I married a Dodge man, and he, of course, passed that passion down to our children. And he had a Super B, and that was his thing.
Oh, 383 or 440? 426.
He had a 440. He had a 440. He completely rebuilt the engine himself.
It'll run hot. It'll run hot. The cylinder walls on that thing are so thin, they bore.
Well, let me tell you, I love driving that car. You barely put your foot on the gas, and you were gone.
Yeah.
And I love that car, and he's had many different cars over the years, but right now they're working on a 70 Roadrunner, and it is beautiful. It's a beautiful car. They've got it painted. It's that Mopar lime green, and it's a beautiful car. The Roadrunner. It's got the Roadrunner beeper on it, and the Roadrunner horn. Yep. Goes beep beep. Bleep, bleep. Anyway, that's what they're working on right now.
Have you ever had one of the plum purple? You ever seen
Yes, the Super B was plum purple. It was plum crazy purple. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Those were the good old days, Jen. Those were the good old days.
Yes, they were.
Back when gas was 25 cents a gallon,
I actually grew up in the 80s, but I remember when gas was 52 cents a gallon. And I remember crying because I didn't have enough money for gas.
I can remember pulling away from a gas station saying, that'll be the day when I pay 65 cents a gallon for gas.
Oh, how naive we were. I'm from that era where, we drove our cars around town, around the cruise line, and we cruised, and if you had a hot rod, you were high status if you had a hot rod.
Sure. Gotta have it. Well, Jen, you have not just one, but you have many stories, and we got in your professional work as well. So it's been a wonderful evening having you share with us. And folks, Jen Gentry, now you can be found easily on Facebook, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so find her on Facebook, Jen Gentry. And Jen, we appreciate you sharing with us tonight. you got a good life.
I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed.
It's been fun having you. Thank you for sharing, Jen.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, folks, there she was. Jen Gentry here on pjnet.tv in just a few moments. Del Didway will be our guest. And folks, if you can, I'll try to keep it short with Del tonight. I do have some updates to share with you. I have some prayer requests to share with you. We have hit a major stumbling block. Let's just put it that way. And it's shaking the world around here. So, but let's keep it upbeat, okay? Everything's going to be fine. Folks, time to go. I have 2 questions before I leave. I'd like to leave this with you. I hope that you will ask yourself these questions. Number 1, what is the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? The second question is, when was that? The challenge that I have accepted for myself, and I hope that you'll accept the challenge too, is to never be satisfied with either answer.